can switch to Massimo Tellini from Intesa San Paolo Innovation Center. The floor is yours. Should we have also the presentation? Otherwise. Hi. So, first of all, many thanks for organizing such an interesting occasion for. Do you want to switch? Okay. So, as I said, it's a great opportunity to share some views on an interesting topic, which is about circular economy in the context of the increasing interest on climate agenda and what finance can do in supporting such a systemic transition. My name is Max Tellini. I'm working from the Innovation Center of Intesa San Paolo Group, which is one of the most important European banking groups, and we, as of today, would like to share some of the lessons learned along our journey, along presenting what has been our journey. I think we can skip the first one. Let's see if there is a video, which is in one very short period of time, 90 seconds, introduce our work.
Today, a car release platform. Offices and workplaces are used less than 50% of their good time. More than 30% of food production is wasted along the supply chain. We can foresee a future where by 2050, global population will grow by more than 2 billion, and in the oceans will be more plastic than fish by volume. We need to redesign existing products and industrial ecosystems, switching to an alternative model that decouples economic development from the exploitation of finite natural resources. Today, thanks to the activities of our innovations, we are ready to meet the challenges of the economy, which is a paradigm of social development, restorative and regenerative by design. Since 2015, with the only financial services global partner of the Helen Foundation, the most relevant time promoting the transition towards the circular economy, we're exploring new business applications in collaboration with our partners. Finance plays a key role in supporting investments, the transformation of current linear business models into circular ones by rethinking the approach to investment and creation. That's why a circular economy for us is a matter of strategy, innovation, not just sustainability. This is an amazing collaboration. Welcome on board.
So, as I said, this is just an introduction, sort of key executive summary of what is circular economy for us. Let me just provocative for a sec, because I believe there is an interesting temporal juncture here where we can try to assess what's the difference that actually does exist between circular economy and sustainability at large. And personally speaking, I believe that the three principles that we do outline in this slide can help us in trying to understand. Basically, and again, just for the sake of the conversation, so just to be provocative a little bit, sustainability, as the word it says, tries to make the actual system more sustainable. Circular economy tries to change the system. It's a different topic. And as for the specific taxonomy, circular economy, it's an economy in itself. So of course, as has been already said also in the previous sessions, of course, there is a clear attention on recycling, on resource efficiency, but this is a very tiny part of the circular economy in itself. Circular economy, as per the definition that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation does give, is the attempt to segregate the economic and social development from the exploitation of finite natural resources. Nothing less, nothing more. Is a change of the economic model. It's not just recycling. It's not just an environmental emergency. Of course, circular economy is key in trying to achieve the objectives of the climate agenda, but we would lose a strategic opportunity specifically for Europe and Italy if we lose for a sec what is the true potential of the circular economy and the principles that are at the base of the circular economy, designing out waste and pollution. And this is exactly why it's out of contradiction to talk about circular economy and linking this with waste management. Because a circular economy, as a definition, actually does ask for the sort of cancellation of the concept of waste itself. That's why circular economy is not just recycling. Then there is the keeping of the production and materials in use. And of course, this is the resource efficiency. And then there is, again, another big difference with sustainability at large, which is not just trying to diminish the negative impact on the natural system, like diminishing CO2 emissions, which is more than legitimate and fine. But actually, circular economy, and here we can have a great example with agriculture, does ask and command for regeneration of the natural capital. It's not just diminishing, it's completely different from being less bad, trying to be more good. So if this makes sense, let's try to see whether I'm able to make this work or not. Maybe, thank you. So we can, one less. What I've been just talking is, I think, is giving a clear example of how today the National Recovery and Resilience Plan is placing specifically the circular economy at the center of mission 2. But again, we are specifically talking more about infrastructure supportive of the waste management industry, which is fine, which is required. I guess we believe circular economy should be actually across all the 6 missions, because again, we need to have circular infrastructure. We need to have circular buildings in order to promote a concrete resource use and exploiting the value of resources already in the system. We need to redesign how we build buildings, and design for disassembly with technology is an example on how even the construction sector should really be redesigned along the circular economy principles. And this is one of the key issues. Circular economy at the core, it's about design. It's actually about redesign. And we all understand how, at this moment, with the reconstruction of the economy, design, Italy can really lead the European conversation about this kind of trajectory. And on the left side, we can see how big corporations are already embracing the principles of open innovation to co-create value, which is far beyond just the environmental components. It's about industrial strategies. It's about industrial agenda. It's about creating value and changing business models for companies. And servitization is just exactly one of them. So again, we are talking about something which is at the core of a new economic model. And this is why Intesa Sanpaolo as a group did decide, thanks to the vision of the top management, the CEO, back in 2018, to put the circular economy as one of the pillars of the strategic plan of the bank, with a 6 billion credit facility, which is actually being disbursed. We already disbursed more than 4.5 billion euros with projects that do have circular economy components in them. So we are financing innovation for the circular economy, and we are making sure that this is the way where Italian companies and European leaders can really set the benchmark that can also serve as a benchmark for the European institutions at the moment where there is the construction of the taxonomy. Thank you very much. So here, again, just going back to the topic of European economy, by the words of Frans Timmermans, the very first vice president of the European Commission back in 2015, the circular economy is the only way forward for the European economy. Why? Because we, as Europeans, we do import 6 times what we are able to export. That's why it's not just environmental component. It's about redesigning the way on how Italian and European companies do compete globally. Thank you very much. And here we can see how circular economy, by definition, has to be a collective action for change. Again, if I can, a little stress on the difference between sustainability at large and circularity. You can try to be as sustainable as you want and as you can, but if you do not join forces with other players along your value chain, you miss a great opportunity for greater impact. This is exactly why circular economy does have a value chain approach and has to be cross-sectoral. This is where open innovation does help, and this is why our CEO has been able already to give voice to this kind of approach for the National Recovery and Resilience Plan, with the options to add 400 billion euros in terms of the overall commitment that the bank is going to provide in supporting the national plan for recovery on different fields like the sustainability and innovation side. So to be very concrete, those are the 5 criteria, the first on the left, that do guide us in our own activity in supplementing and supporting the system in the concrete transition to the circular economy. Those 5 principles have been co-designed with the LMK2 Foundation. So again, there is not today, I would say, a general accepted taxonomy. It's in becoming. But at the same time, back in 2018, we decided to help our clients to understand what circularity could do for them. And so with those 5 criteria, with the 5 criteria, we can support specific investments and specific projects that are taking place today across Italy and Europe. And the other 3 on the right are more green, but again, I would say green 2.0. So we are talking about something which is already able to change the productivity and the risk profile of companies. And this is another point that I would like to make. We are working with Bocconi University just to make sure that the link that does exist between becoming more circular and becoming less risky from a financial perspective is going to be proven. We have been releasing in July the very first part of this study, and there is already clear evidence thanks to the study that has been carried out, and we have been looking at 600 listed companies across Europe, with a final cluster of more than 200, to verify how, given the more circularity prospect of a business, of a company, there is a clear reduction in the probability of default of those companies, back to, in both sides, to 1 year short term and 5-year terms, medium term. It means that becoming circular, it's also making sense from a financial perspective. And from a financial institution like us, this is really interesting. We can close very quickly. This is the additional part that we are trying to concretely propose to the system. From one side, as a financial institution, we have been supplementing 6 billion of facilities. On the other side, we really want to make the sort of things happen. And so with the Circular Economy Lab that we did create here in Milan with the support of Fondazione Cariplo and Cariplo Factory, we are driving the conversation with companies, with SMEs, with startups, with academia, to make sure that this is a sort of, again, a collective action for change, with the mission to explore new business model and also to nurture new talent, new knowledge, which is going to be required by the companies that do want to be the leaders of this transition. Finally, again, those are the pillars. So education is key. We understand how this transition is going to work, but it's really fundamental to understand and to anticipate the knowledge which is required. And this is not just the sustainability knowledge, it's knowledge about new business models, about redesigning of products and services and redesigning relationships, because companies, specifically in the circular economy, do have new chances and new opportunities to create new ventures, new occasions for collaborations, also from a pre-competitive perspective compared to the existing situation. Connection and innovation, by definition, are the pillars of a new way of thinking that has to have in the Italian companies the leaders from the European side. So closing, this is the key message. So circular economy, far from being just an environmental component of the climate agenda, and by definition it is, it's a new industrial policy strategy for Italy and for Europe. And we believe this is going to be sort of one of the leadership areas where Italy and Europe can contribute to the global discourse on climate agenda, and making sure that the regeneration of the natural capital is part of being a profitable and successful companies in the future. Thank you very much.